Steve stayed true to his word on having friendly outings with Emerald. Whenever they could, they'd chat together and often were laughing like old friends. Steve especially told Emily a lot about his old friends in Fulton.
Amy gave Justin and Joseph the nicknames Ladyboy and Bobby, you said?
Yep. Those are the strangest nicknames ever, and I gotta tell you, I have no idea where she came up with the Ladyboy nickname.
Yeah. It's a shame I never got to know them.
Agreed. I was actually thinking about that the other day. Perhaps you were here before they were built?
That's the only thing I can think of. Maybe you had the numbers mixed up too.
You know, that could be it. Though I don't think we'll ever know for sure.
Almost everyone on the railway had learned about the Fulton County Railroad and Steve's old friends, but some weren't entirely convinced that the stories were true, even though Vincent was there to back them up.
Listen, I met several of them. Hank, Charlie, you remember Amy. She was sold to that railway. I would know. I took her there.
I honestly thought Amy was sold for scrap for a while.
Oh, I believe you, Vincent, but... why did you have to remind me of Amy? She was such a...
One engine to back Steve up is fair, but... correct me if I'm wrong, but did he say that Justin and Joseph were SD-42s?
Yeah, why?
I thought SD-42s were only being put into production this year. How could they have existed at that time period?
Maybe Justin and Joseph were early prototypes?
I'm not entirely convinced on that.
That's my best guess. Sorry.
You're quite right, Michelle. I think Steve is lying to us about those engines.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What? That's not what I'm trying to say. I just thought that maybe Stephen was incorrect on...
Come on, guys. Do you really believe him? I mean, why should it take him almost a year to actually say something about this railway? Do you think he'll tell you guys as soon as he became acquainted with you all?
I mean, he's got a point.
The only way I can be convinced that the railroad he speaks of really did exist is if I see it with my own eyes.
Famous last words.
It all changed for Jake though, when one morning he woke up later than usual and had a bit of a surprise waiting for him.
Huh?
Jake,
What?
just the engine I was looking for.
I am. What is it, sir?
We got an emergency. Nick's brickyards collapsed a few miles south as he was passing Crosby. I'd like you to go down there and take over his train.
Really? Is he okay?
He will be eventually, but can you please head down for his sake?
What about the derailment over there?
Oh, never mind that. Charlie and Dexter are taking care of it. Please, it's an emergency.
Should we say something?
You crazy? Not if we want to save face. Wait, shh! He's coming over here.
Good morning, you two.
Morning, sir. We were just watching Charlie and Dexter derail that flat car.
You look rather nervous. What's the matter?
Oh, it's just we were wondering what might have caused it.
Did either of you think you saw anything suspicious last night? No unknown people snooping around the yard or anything?
No, sir. We were asleep most of the night.
I like to believe you, but I don't know. I really don't know.
Sir, is something on your mind?
You think? I'm trying to figure out how this flat car got derailed. Not every day you see one random flat car get derailed out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's what's making us nervous.
I understand. Can I trust you two to let me know if you see anything suspicious in the near future?
Of course, sir. But maybe it was just an accident?
I don't know, Michelle. It's a mystery.
Jake soon found Nick down the line, and he didn't look well.
Oh, thank God. It's you, Jake. Just in time, too.
Where's this train supposed to go?
It's supposed to go to Mercer. Sorry about the cough. I really don't feel good.
Well, there's no time to lose, that's for sure.
Jake was making up for lost time, and before he knew it, he was approaching his destination. But then, out of nowhere, he heard a big pop in his engine.
I've blown a fuse!
Jake slowed down and looked for the quickest place to drop off his train.
Excuse me? Sir? Sir?
What's up?
Where's the closest empty siding? I'm not feeling so good. I blew a fuse just before I got here.
There's one right over there. Another engine will take care of your train. Then he can help you.
Thanks. I really appreciate it. Blimey! 2 engines breaking down in one trip.
Hey, are you the engine that broke down?
Yeah, I am. My cars are right here. Do as you please.
Alright, let me just turn around. I've got a few other cars to pick up, and then I'll take you to the sheds. By the way, I don't believe I got your name. What did you say your name was?
It's Jake. And yours?
It's Andrew, but most engines call me Andy for short.
Wait a minute. Santa Fe Northern? Number 3780? And your name is Andrew? I don't believe it. It's true.
What's true?
You and your railway. And both your old and new friends? Oh, I was silly to think that the stories were all just make-believe.
Whoa, slow down there. What stories are you talking about, and who told them to you?
The stories of your railway. A Fulton country, owned by Terry Jackson. With your colleagues like Justin, Joseph, Cora, Amy, and Martin, I do have my information correct, right?
Yeah? And why is it a big deal that you know about my railway and my friends who work with me?
One of your former co-workers, Steve, told me all about you.
You have got to be pulling my wheels. I thought for sure he'd been scrapped.
Of course not. He's still alive. He's now a well-respected member of the railway I come from, the Fairway and Southeastern. Alright, you've met Vincent on Southern Pacific GS4, right?
Yeah?
He's another engine on the railway. We've got a lot of steam engines on our roster, too. It's practically a heritage railway.
Well, It sure is a small world, isn't it? Alright, before we go any further, let me take you over to the shed. Alright, so let me ask you, Jake, how much has Steve told you about us and our railway?
Almost everything he knows happened while he was there. Let's see. I remember the first day when Martin tricked him to think he was ill and made Steve take his train for him as well as his own.
Yeah, I have no idea why Martin was so cranky that day. He's actually really nice once you get to know him, but please continue.
Then there was the incident where Cora made Steve pull passenger trains, even though back then he knew nothing about passengers. And then the story of the Chicago Northern twins, Martin redeeming himself, the ghost of John's girlfriend Jupiter, Amy's arrival, Steve and Cora getting together, O.B. the grouchy bobber caboose, your jinx, and that fire that killed John and evidently forced Steve to leave the railway. So let me ask, did all that really happen?
Of course it did. Well, then again, Steve didn't tell you all the events that happened on the railway, but that's because he doesn't know everything that's happened. I've got some time, though. I can tell you some of the other stories.
Really? I'd love to know. In fact, I remember one story that he told me about a nickel player Roe Berkshire named Harvey who harassed Cora. I've always wondered, what happened to him after that?
It's a long story. Once I took him to Chicago, where I happened to find Mr. Jackson and Ross Rowland, I explained everything, and the Fulton County Sheriff had decided to ban Harvey from ever entering the town again, and a restraining order was filed on him. He was kept on a very tight leash for a while until his flu time was up, and when he went back to Steamtown, he dumped his fire and never ran again.
Sounds like he got what he deserved.
Heh, that's putting it lightly. Personally, I think he deserves more than that, but with enthusiasts being the way they are, I guess they want to keep as many steam locomotives as intact as possible. So, I kinda understand.
Question. How's the railway been since Steve left? Oh, bad?
That fire put a huge dent in Mr. Jackson's wallet. It's taken him a long time to pay off the debt from all the insurance, and, of course, time also means even more changes.
Did you guys at least have some sort of memorial for John?
The city did build a small statue of him by the yard. That was very kind of them, I think.
Anything else?
Oh boy, where do I begin? While we were trying to do more work to pay off the debt, Mr. Jackson had downsized significantly. Joseph and Justin, for starters, were sent back to the Northwestern. This was both a blessing and a curse since they were happier at home, but of course, sometimes other engines had to be borrowed from other railroads in the area. And then Cora, boy, the dark ages of passenger travel were not kind on her.
What do you mean?
Mr. Jackson has sold off both her and the entire Silver Streak Zephyr set. The observation car went to, I believe, the National Railway Museum. The rest of her train set went to a dealer in St. Louis, and Cora herself ended up at a museum in Burlington, Iowa.
I didn't know there was a museum there.
Neither did I. It's called the Burlington Railroad Museum. No surprise, but all that's really there is her, Hudson 3007, a Mikado that I don't remember the number of, and I think a few pieces of rolling stock. I guess it's a good thing I won't be seeing Steve anytime soon. Don't know how on earth I could look him in the eye and tell him that far.
Wow. Are there any passenger trains still running?
Mr. Jackson did make a deal with Amtrak, and they used some old RDCs on the line. Martin and Amy are really about the only two engines left that get regularly used. To be honest, though, the railroad only needs about 2 locomotives at this point. Most of the customers on the line have either gone out of business or switched to moving everything but a truck. Hell, even Mr. Jackson's not been doing so hot. I think his years of smoking have finally caught up with him.
Wait, hold on. What class of 4A4 are you?
Technically I'm a 2900, but I'm wearing a 3776 series number. I'd say it's a long story, but seeing as you've been around Steve, something tells me you may already know the story behind that.
Okay, well, why do you have a smaller tender? I thought the 5011s and the 2900s used those massive 80-axle tenders.
That's a fairly short story. Mr. Jackson had bought another Santa Fe tender from a 3751 class, and he'd intended to use it as an auxiliary tender with me at some point. However, during one of my overhauls, they found out that the water tank on my original tender was in terrible shape. It was going to be expensive to fix my original tender due to its size, and the smaller tender was in better shape, so they just fixed up the smaller tender and put it behind me. And I've been running with it ever since. I honestly prefer it though. It's a lot easier for switching, and I don't have to carry that much fuel and water with me now. That certainly didn't provide any inevitable rising maintenance costs.
Maintenance costs? What do you mean?
I hate to be the breaker of bad news, Jake, but this may be the only time we ever see each other out on the main line. It's gotten to the point where Mr. Jackson can't afford to run me anymore. As you should know, it's getting more and more expensive to run steam locomotives nowadays, and since I'm too big for the line and Mr. Jackson doesn't really need a locomotive my size, I'm going to be retired in the next couple of weeks.
You mean you're going to be scrapped?
It's hard to say. I haven't heard word from the city of Fulton wanting me for a part display. Mr. Jackson has said something along the lines of putting me up for sale, but that could mean anything at this point.
Maybe he doesn't have to.
What do you mean?
When I get back to Fairway, why don't I tell our controller about your situation and see if he can buy you? It's the least I can do.
Whoa, slow down there. I appreciate your offer, but in order for that to actually work out, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Winston are going to have to sit down and have a meeting. I'm not sure that can be arranged within a week. Let's just get through this week first and see what happens.
Sorry I was no help at all.
Jake, listen, it's okay, please. It's just...
Hey, Steamer! We need you over here. Shake a wheel.
Well, I've got to go. Take care, Jake. Huh. What do you know? I could be counting my lucky stars soon.
When Jake returned to Fairway later that evening, he tried to talk to Mr. Winston about his idea.
Sir, I need to talk to you.
Jake, not right now, please. I'm trying to investigate.
Just give me 5 minutes, okay? Please. This is important.
Alright. What is it?
I met Steve's old friend, Andrew, in Mercer. No joke. He's very much real. I'm still amazed at how convenient it was.
Wow. That's actually pretty neat. It is a small world, after all.
And there's something else you need to know. You see, he told me that Mr. Jackson can't afford to run steam locomotives anymore, and is planning to retire him next week.
What a shame. Well, I may maintain a large fleet of operable steamers, but I know it can be hard sometimes for that kind of thing. As long as Andrew doesn't get scrapped, I'm sure things will turn all alright in the end.
That's just it though, sir. Well, while Andrew said Mr. Jackson was going to sell him to a museum, I think you should buy him.
Me?
Yes, you. Think about it. He'd work very hard here, be a nice addition to your steam collection. And let's not forget, he and Steve will reunite if you do.
Jake, I appreciate your idea, but I need to be honest with you. I really don't need another engine right now. Nick needs major repairs, and I really don't think investing in a third 484 is a good idea.
But sir, you have to! It's probably Andrew's only chance of staying in active service, and to see one of his friends again.
Jake, here's the deal. I will think about it, but I'm telling you this because I'm not 100% sure on whether or not I would like to buy him. I don't want you or any other engines, especially Steve, to get your hopes up. Times are tough right now, especially since I'm still trying to figure out how that flat car got derailed earlier today. I strongly suggest that you focus more on taking care of yourself right now.
Taking care of myself. Indeed. Nick, are you feeling better?
Yeah, now that my fire's been put out. Hey, why the long face?
I failed.
Failed at what?
It was foolish of me to think Steve wasn't telling the truth about his railway. I actually ran to Andrew, that Santa Fe 4A4 he knew. You believe me?
Of course I do. Even after what you were saying the other day about it.
Well, I tried to suggest the idea to Mr. Winston that he could buy him and let him work here, but he sounded rather skeptical about the idea.
I wouldn't lose hope, Jake. Maybe the idea just came out of the blue for Mr. Winston, and he needed some time to think about it. Just be patient. I'm sure something will come out of it. Besides, I don't think Vincent will be able to manage alone while I'm getting my new boiler.
Yeah, you're right. Wait, you're getting a new boiler?
Yeah, they were inspecting me earlier and found that I had several leaks and worn out parts. That's what led to my brick arch collapsing. So Mr. Winston decided it would be best to get me a new boiler.
I see. Hey, what if I were to help cover for you while you're being repaired? Surely there'll be lots of freight trains needing to be delivered.
Thanks, Jake. That would be very helpful, especially since I don't know how long the rebuild will take.
No problem. That's what friends are for.
I'm afraid that's where we'll have to stop for this story, but I think something promising is coming for Andrew, don't you?